Hello, everyone. I think we are in the webinar right now and people are starting to come in. So we will go ahead and allow that to take place and hopefully we'll be able to get started on time. I see a few participants. Hey, everybody. And if there is hi, Lee.
How are you, Latina?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well today.
Good. That's always great. I'm going to give a little bit of time here to allow people to come. I know that you've got a choice of which session you're going to go into, so we'll let people make their choice.
Where do you hail from, Latina?
I'm actually from Columbus. You and I have
Oh,
met before.
get out of town. Are you really?
Yeah, I
Where
met
you
you.
been?
I met you at the PDD lab, the last PDD. I
Oh,
did the
2
AI.
weeks ago?
Yeah, the one in Columbus. Yeah,
I'll be damned.
I did the AI session. That was me.
Why do I forget you?
I don't
I,
know. You told me I did a good job. You did.
oh my God, that's embarrassing.
No,
I
it's okay.
yeah, I really enjoyed that PDD.
Yeah,
That
it was
that
great.
lady, that Thunderbird pilot, she inspired me.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great time. So I'm
Good
excited.
crowd. Yeah, good crowd. Now, we used to get 1,200 for that.
Yeah.
Now we get 300 or 400. So kind of
Still a good crowd
academic
though.
driven.
A good engaging crowd. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was. You're right.
yeah. All right, we are right at the top of the hour. So Lee, I'm not sure if you're doing introductions. If not, I can allow you to say a few words about the whole landscape of
I'm
AI.
just going to do a brief introduction. I don't read all that stuff they give me.
Okay.
But yeah, let's do that. I would like to welcome everybody that's here already. There'll be more coming as we get started. But we have with us today Latina Lewis, who's I went through paperwork here pretty quick because there are things I look for. One is, are they PMP certified? She certainly is. In fact, teaches courses and prepares people for being certified. Writing books, heck, she's done that too. Got a book out there. And so you start to look at that and you think, well, if people have the ability to do that, and I've written a book, so I know how darn hard it is. You got to have some respect for them. So it's worked well with everybody I've ever introduced, and I think this will be another one where Latina shows us some things that we might not have thought about. But AI's better get used to it because it's here to stay. Latina, it's all yours.
All right, great. Now we are in this webinar format. I'll say that. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. So I am assuming that you all see a Q&A section within your panel. I'm going to ask you to put your questions in there. I am going to try my best to allow time for you to ask questions or for me to read the questions from the Q&A. And I'm assuming that I'm going to be able to access those also. Um, Hold on a second. Let me just make sure. I saw an attendee.
Hey, Latina, it's Natalie from Project Management Life. Great
Hi,
to see you
Natalie.
on here. Just want to let you know that the question section is not activated. So, just in case, you might need
Okay.
to activate that on your end. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, so I need to activate it. Is that a true statement?
Lee, is that something that you can do on your end? Either that or just invite everyone to raise their hand.
Here, let me see if I can hmm. Okay, so I know everyone can react in here now, so I want all the smoke for the reactions. Give me some reaction. I do like feedback. Okay, I see thumbs up. That's great. I love that. Okay, let me check to see if I can activate the. I don't see where I can activate the Q&A, but I will say this while I get ready to speak. I will be at the Ask Anything session, so bring your questions there. So absolutely do that. I'm just double checking one last time just to see. Play sound. Okay. Yep. Nope, I don't see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and we're gonna get right into it so that I can talk to you because I do feel like I have a lot to tell you, but not a lot of time. So let me go ahead and share. Let's see, I'm gonna do that just in case I need it. I'm gonna go to this screen and I'm gonna share. All right, so hopefully you all are seeing my screen. Oh, we have reactions. So give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Wonderful. Yeah, I want all the smoke with the reactions, y'all. If y'all hear something that you like, give me something wherever the reactions might be so we can get into it. So let me go ahead and start. So what I'm going to be talking about, the first thing I'm going to be talking about is just talking about the changing landscape within project management and AI. Get into and I'm going to look at a couple of different tools. Now, we already know that ChatGPT is probably the most widely available, and some of you are using it personally or using it for your work or a combination of the two. So I'm going to be talking about some settings. I'm going to be talking about some features. I'm going to be talking about how to make ChatGPT sound more like you so that it doesn't sound as robotic. And also look at an alternative AI tool that you might not be aware of that could actually be a benefit to you. Now, let me say this. I'm going to preface this conversation with saying that all of you are at different and varying levels of using AI in your work. And some of your places of business may say, hey, you can only use it for this, or you can only use Copilot, or ChatGPT is completely banned, or you can only use these portions of it. I get it. That is going to change. All right. When I talk about this overview of the changing landscape, more of these AI enterprises are going to grow, and it's going to be to your benefit that you dive in, that you lean in, that you start playing with it, whether at your job or personally. So I'm going to be talking to you from an independent contributor who will be using AI in multiple areas and facets of their work. All right, fair enough? Give me a thumbs up if that's fair enough. All right, so let's talk about a few things with relation to the changing landscape. Now, I was a speaker at the PMI Professional Development Day in Washington, D.C., and they had an entire panel as their opening keynote talking about AI. So as I was preparing for this, a lot of these landscape conversations I'm going to have with you are some things that they were talking about as well. So I'm going to quickly get into that so that I can move into some of these demos and things for you to watch and review. First of all, the whole AI integration portion is here to stay. So you're seeing it now. You're seeing it with Copilot. You're seeing it with a lot of other tools that are embedded into the software that you already use. You're moving from using siloed solutions to having things like an ecosystem that can automate, analyze, as well as predict. So that's here, and it's only going to grow from here. Governance is being redefined. So everybody's trying to figure this out in terms of how are we going to govern AI to make sure that it has the right guardrail. So that requires PMs talking to HR or IT or even legal to decide whether or not what guardrails make sense. If your Copilot can reach out and pull files from different areas, where shouldn't it go? Are there proprietary files that it shouldn't touch? So that's the type of governance that we need to be thinking about. And then the third point, humans must stay in the loop. We have to have that. AI cannot effectively communicate with stakeholders when they are concerned about their project. They cannot do those kinds of things. So AI is not a set it and forget it type of thing. It is a set it and monitor. It is a set it and verify. It is a set it and define and redefine type of situation. So that's another piece to be mindful of. And then the whole idea of the culture shift. The culture shift in the workplace, I think, has a lot to do with governance because we have to come together and blend our expertise with somebody like an IT or somebody within HR to make sure that everything is governed properly. There is a culture shift in the workplace with the onset of AI because we're having to do things in a certain way and refer to certain departments to make sure we're doing it right. And then agents. They talked about this at the PMI in Washington, D.C. The year of the agents is here. You're already talking to an agent when you call somebody, when you call customer service and you're trying to call operator, you're already talking to an agent. So that is only going to get bigger in our industry as well. We're going to be managing AI agents to monitor their performance, right? To make sure they are giving out the data that we expect them to give. All right. Now, a couple other things for adapting in this AI era, and then I'm going to get into some more specifics. Continuous learning is absolutely key. You, as an individual contributor, need to be leaning into the whole concept of utilizing AI in all aspects. Don't be afraid of it. Start to use it, whether on your job or personally. Governance without gridlock. If you, as an individual, are going to be responsible for any level of governance, it's going to be important that you utilize governance, but don't be so rigid that you take out the innovation of AI. No one can use it because you locked it down so tough, right? So be mindful of that. You want to have governance, but you don't want to curtail what AI can actually do. Data is foundation. AI is data-driven on the front end, right? So good data is key to good outcomes. So you want to make sure that if you're working in a situation where you're working with data, that that data is clean, that it is accurate, and that it works for what it is you need to do. All right. Trust and transparency is essential. I think that goes without saying. If you're utilizing AI, then you want to make sure people understand how you're using it and you want to be transparent. Don't create something out of whole cloth. I say all the time with AI, trust and verify. You do not have to accept AI's first answer, nor should you. Okay, you are the expert. All of us in here as project managers or aspiring project managers, we are the thought leaders. We have the juice. We have the PMP certification, or we're going to get it. So we then can verify and make sure that we're transparent with what we're doing. And then embrace a growth mindset. That goes without saying. We're in this industry. We need to grow with it, and then understand AI personally. That goes right back up to the continuous learning, kind of circling back. Now, let's get into some other topics. Everybody good? Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me. Want to make sure. I know it's in the afternoon. You might have eaten, so I need you all to stand up if you're listening and you're trying to stick with me. Okay. Let's talk about some essential ChatGPT settings. All right, so personally, I'm gonna talk over 3 different settings, and I'm gonna demonstrate them to you. First is personalization, and a lot of you may already know this, but you can personalize how ChatGPT addresses you. You can tell it what to call you. You can give it your occupation, your bio, all the things. Now, these words are representative of words you may or may not use. As you start using ChatGPT or other large language models, you may see it use words that you don't use. Personally, I don't use the word tapestry. Okay? I don't use the word delve. So I can tell it not to use those words. So it sounds more like me. All right. So you want to do that in your personalization. So that's important. So as you start using it, if you see those kinds of things, go into your personalizations and say, hey, stop saying tapestry, not me. Okay. Data controls. If you've never gone into data control for your ChatGPT instance, this is on. You can turn it off so that you don't improve the model for everyone. I'll show you where that is. All right. And then the third thing is going incognito. You can engage a temporary chat in ChatGPT so that it doesn't save your conversation. And if your ChatGPT is set up a certain way, then you can go in and go incognito for those one-off unrelated chats. All right. So with that said, let's look at a quick demo on how this would work. First is personalization. So right now, this is my instance of ChatGPT, by the way. So right down in that lower left-hand corner that I'm going to go to here in a second, as soon as I get my wits about myself, yes, I'm going to click on my name and I'm going to go to where it says personalization. Once I click on that, that's where all the magic happens, right? I can enable customizations. One, I can tell it, give ChatGPT a personality. I leave mine at a default. I do not need it to be a cynic or a robot, okay? Or just a listener or a nerd. I keep it at default. And then the custom instructions are where I can add all those different pieces. I can add how I want it to engage me, write in an engaging format, speak clearly and flexibly and clearly. I can tell it not to use certain words, right? Down at the bottom where it says, and I'll move down there in a second, where it says about you, the nickname. Now, my Starbucks nickname is Storm, but my ChatGPT doesn't call me that. It calls me Latina. So I can tell it to call me whatever I choose, right? And then occupation, you can give it your entire occupation. This area is small, but you have a lot of space there to work with. And then the more about you can be your bio, okay? Who are you, okay? And then everything after that is already turned on, and I personally don't see a need to turn it off, like your memory, your record mode, some of the advanced features like coding and things like that. Those things are set to on. Those can stay on. I have not seen a reason to turn them off, okay? All right, so that's personalization. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Or if there's like you can use other emojis too. I like variety. So thumbs up, hearts, fire, whatever. Give me some different stuff. All right, great, thank you. Data controls. Down at the bottom in that lower left corner, when you click on your name, go to settings this time. And there's a section in here called data controls. If you have never touched this, like I said before, it is on. All right, so if you want to turn it off. So mine is off. All right, so turning it off basically does not train the model for everyone. There are people doing that. You don't have to be that person unless you want to be, no judgment, but you can turn it off so it doesn't record any of those things, right? And then the other piece of the puzzle was, what was the last piece? It was, the go incognito, right? Now my big head is in the way, but in that upper right corner, there's a little dash chat bubble. And if you click it, it turns on temporary chat, right? And it's a toggle. So if you turn it on, you turn it off. So chatting in here does not save anything, right? And then you could literally click it again to turn it off. All right. Give me some feedback. With me? I feel like you're with me. Okay. Yes. All right, let's move on to some ChatGPT features. All right. So 3 features that you may or may not be aware of. One of them is branching. Now, branching is probably a couple of months old, and what it does, it allows you to start a new chat from anywhere in a longer conversation. When you have a chat conversation, you've got several threads of information where you're saying something, chat saying something, and you go back and forth. Well, if you want to go back to maybe, the original conversation or maybe somewhere deep in the middle of it, you can then branch off and ask another question. I'll show you how to do that. Chunking big tasks. You can explain the big picture to ChatGPT and then break it down into more manageable steps. I like this one. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to do a demo on that one, and you can refine as you go. All right, I'm going to do that with a risk analysis exercise. And then breaking down complex documents. That large regulation that your client just gave you because they said, oh my God, we need to make sure that this build matches this regulation. Can you make sure? Right. So instead of you starting from a blank slate, you can get the Cliff Notes version using ChatGPT to give you some key takeaways, provide some summaries so that then you can start from there. And then as you are reading through the document, you've got some context. All right, so let's look at those. So first thing is the branching. Now, I use projects, and I'll talk about projects in a second, but a project is like a small little section of ChatGPT that has a focused conversation. I have a whole home renovation project in my ChatGPT for all the stuff I'm doing at my house. And I chose one of the conversations in here as my example. I recently had a furnace and a hot water heater installed. So I was having a whole conversation with chat, asking questions, and I threw the contracts people were throwing at me in here to make sure I wasn't getting, taken for a ride. So you can see the conversation here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of these, and right down in there in the bottom of that section, I'm going to say branch in a new chat, right? Because I want to kind of move further with this conversation. So I'm going to go in and choose that. And when you do that, if you notice, it opens up a new window here at the top. And then it takes that conversation and then allows you to then chat right there in the midst of it. Okay. So you can start talking and you can start having a conversation from that point, and have a different conversation. I think in this particular instance, I was asking about warranties. So I wanted to ask more questions about it. Long story short with this, you can see what I write there. That part's not as important as the feature, but my water heater and my furnace did get installed. I finally pulled the trigger. I didn't want to, but I did. Okay. But I used ChatGPT to kind of help me kind of flesh out in brain what I wanted to do. And this was very helpful. All right. So branching is really cool because instead of you copying maybe something from an earlier part of the conversation, you can then go in and just branch off. Okay. And then over here, what will happen in this original section, when you go back to that conversation, you will see in that thread, it'll say the word branch, letting you know that you branched off into another part of the conversation within chat. All right. Thumbs up on that one. How we feeling? Think you might use that? Okay. Chunking big tasks into smaller ones. Now I'm going to have to look at my notes here because what I did was this was I'm pulling in an abstract from a project. I said I was going to do a risk analysis exercise here. This is cool. So this is an abstract that has like the project particulars, and the prompt that I'm going to put in here, I'm going to read it to you now, but it's the prompt is going to show up so you can see it a little bigger. The prompt is, I've just received this project abstract, what I dragged into the ChatGPT section. I'd like to use you as a brainstorming partner for risk management. Please break this task into the following steps and only complete one step at a time, waiting for me to ask you to move forward. See that? That's the main part of that prompt. Now, the rest of it that is in there that I didn't put in the big part of that in the blue section is I gave it the steps. Step 1 is to brainstorm a list of possible risks. Step 2, for each risk, give me the probability. Step 3, what's the trigger for that risk? Step 4, recommend how you would handle it. Okay, so literally I gave it everything, but I told it to go step by step. So when I hit enter, it starts off in the first part of that. It's going to literally give me a bunch of risks. So if you are that person that has to do the risk assessment, or if you have to do this with your team, you can use ChatGPT as an assistant in this case. Again, you don't have to accept this first answer, right? So it goes in, and what it did here is that it literally went through and gave me risks. This is like a project to develop a medical device, right? I literally made up the abstract out of whole cloth just for this example. So it literally gives me the different potential risks by category. Now, at this point, you could go through this with yourself or your team and say, you know what? That seems like that doesn't seem right. That risk doesn't apply to us. So we're going to take this out. So I can continue to have a conversation within step 1 and say, hey, from what you found out, great job, but remove this, remove that whole section out. Oh, hey, by the way, add this risk that we just realized should be a part of this. So you can go in and maybe knock half of this down, because even it gave you something to start with, but maybe you go and say, okay, we're going to remove certain things. Now, once you've had that conversation, you move on to step 2. For the purposes of this example, I'm simply going to say step 2, because it says when you're ready, say step 2. I'm just going to say step 2 to move on. But you can have a whole conversation before you tell it to go on to the next step, because you told it to not move on until you say. Now, step 2 is giving you the probability and the identify the probability and the rationale. At this Oh, well, let me stop right here. I left this in here on purpose. It basically gave a little bit of an error. So it looks like I'm not able to see the abstract. So sometimes tech likes to text. So I just gave it the abstract again, let it go, and then it moved on. So a lot of times ChatGPT will throw some errors. Don't be alarmed by that. Just read what it says and walk through it. So now it gives me the risk and the probability. Now, again, you don't have to accept all of this as whole cloth. You can go through and look at this and say, you know what? That high really needs to be medium. That low probability really needs to be a high based on what you know about the project, what you know about the team, and what you know about the outcomes. You can change it, okay, and then tell it to give you a new list. Okay, so maybe you knock this down another, I don't know, 5 or 10. Okay, so you've got an even smaller list, or maybe you have a larger list because this sparked an idea of you, oh, we need to add these in. We forgot about this part. So after you have that conversation, you can then tell it to move on to step 3, which I do here. The step 3 is the trigger. Like, what will be the potential trigger for this risk? All right. So looking at this, you can say, you know what, that trigger really doesn't apply to our business. We would never have a trigger of weather issues because we are in a space where everything we're doing is kind of self-contained. So we can take that out as a risk. So again, trust, but verify, or trust and verify. All right. So you're going through and allowing it to help you, but you are, again, refining it and defining it as you go. Okay. And then the last one is step 4, which is how to handle it. Now, in the big picture, what I did was I said, don't just tell me to mitigate. Don't just tell me that. To give me more project management language. Show me how to enhance it, the risk. Show me how to avoid the risk if that is appropriate. Show me how to transfer the risk. So I'm asking it to give me the risk mitigation, the risk plan, recommending how to handle the risk, but asking it to broaden its scope. All right. So again, all this is doing is allowing me to not start from a blank slate. It's giving me ideas that I can then take and refine, define, throw out, keep, what have you. All right. So that was the chunking big tasks into smaller ones. Okay, what do you think? We're going to move on to the next one here in a second, but give me some emojis. Hopefully you're writing down your questions because I am going to be in the Ask Me Anything session after this, and you can let me know what else you want to talk about. Breaking down smaller documents. Now this one is pretty straightforward. So the prompt that I give it, and it's going to come up here in a second, is I was just made aware that for this project, we need to make sure that we are abiding by the following attached regulation. Please summarize it. Keep the summary clear, concise, and in project management friendly language. You know what, to be frank, I didn't have to be that wordy with that prompt. I could have literally dropped it in there and say, hey, summarize this and give me key takeaways. And it will do just that. Okay. So again, I'm not starting from a blank slate. And then I could even, what I sometimes do also, particularly if it's a large document, if I'm reading through it, I may say, hey, where in the source did you find that? What page was that on? Again, that's that trust and verify. Because if it's something that is kind of glaring to me for the project that I need to really dig in, where'd you find that? I need to go look a little deeper at that. Okay. So that is basically breaking down complex documents. Y'all with me? Give me an emoji to let me know you're with me. All right. Okay. I see one heart. Okay. Woo, thank you. Okay. Making sure. And you can tell me if you're with me in the Ask Me Anything too. All right, let's move along to our next piece. And we're making good on time here. We're good. Training ChatGPT to sound like you. All right, so this is a thing where if you don't want it to sound, or if you think your ChatGPT is sounding a little too robotic, over time, as you use ChatGPT, it starts to come out of that, but you can do some training up front. So I'm going to do it under the auspices of a project. I'm going to create a project in ChatGPT. I'm going to do a before. I'm going to have it write something before, and then I'm going to start the training. How do I train it? The way I train it is that I give it information about me. One thing I give it is my bio, and then I give it things I have written or that I have trained. Now, let me stress the I have written part, not something that you've had AI help you write, but something you've actually written, a newsletter, an article, whatever it happens to be. You know, maybe it's an email that you wrote that had a lot of detail in it. You can de-identify that if it's necessary and use that. Just a couple of writings, two or three at the most. Or if you train, you can pull transcripts from a training, because that's all about who you are, and then let it analyze your style, and then you can add that to the custom instructions of the project. All right, so let's look at how that would work. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the project. So right up here in the corner, up there on the top left there, there's a section called projects. That is available in the free and the paid version. I'm going to name the project. I name it My Voice. You can name it whatever you want. So I name it My Voice, and then you can tell this project to only look at what's in the project itself by hitting the settings button there, or you can have it just stay at the default, which means it will access all of your chats, right? So I'm leaving this at the default, okay? And then I go ahead and I create the project. Now, once I create the project, it does show up on my left-hand side, and it's going to show up here in just a second, right over here where it says My Voice, right? So when I click on it, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a before. So the before is I'm going to ask it to write an email that lets your sponsor know that your timeline will change due to a sudden resource issue. So I'm going to type that in here as a before, if you will. Now, let me preface this. This is my instance of ChatGPT. I maybe should have done this in a free version. But so I have custom instructions that take precedence over because I don't have instructions in the project. This is a solid email for me. I would take this out. I would zhuzh it up. I'd never take anything out of ChatGPT without changing something about it or updating it in some way. And I'd probably use this. This is not bad. Just within this, not bad. But again, this is my instance of ChatGPT. I have a really close relationship with my ChatGPT. Okay. But this is a before, and I'll show you an after. You can kind of see a little bit of the nuance here. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go back into the top of my project, and just by clicking on the project itself here on the left side, it takes me to the top of the project, and then I'll be able to see that thread I was there. So I'm going to create a new thread, and I'm going to add a prompt that says this, and it's going to pop up here in a second. I'll read it to you. I would like you to write for me as my ghostwriter. I will be giving you my bio and 2 transcripts of trainings that I have done so that you can learn about me, learn my writing and teaching style and tone, so you can write for me as me. Do you understand? Sometimes I ask, do you understand? You don't really have to, but I just want to kind of see if it's, not hallucinating. So you have to, do you understand? So I let that rip, and it says, yeah, I got it. Give me your stuff. Okay. Essentially, I'm going to analyze, I'm going to summarize, and I'm going to write like you. So at this point, I can just click and drag over my information. Now, I usually like to use files versus copy paste. If you're going to drag files into this, you can drag up to 10 files at once, I believe, in here, last time I checked. But I'm only going to pull in 3, my bio and my 2 training transcripts. Okay. And then I don't have to say anything else because I've already given it the instruction before. I'm just going to press enter, click the arrow, and let that go. And it is going to go in and analyze my style just from that information. So if you look at what it's doing here, it says, perfect, got it. It says your teaching style, you're a conversational educator. You explain complex topics like a PMP certification in simple, relatable terms. Real world and grounded. Thanks. Okay. My writing voice, professional and personable, engaging cadence, all the things. So it gives me that. So I take it a step further. It says, great. So the next prompt I'm going to put in here digs a little deeper. It says, how would you describe my writing style and tone? How would you describe my content style to someone who wanted to write exactly like me? That's going to pop up here in a second. What phrases do I often use? How do I usually start off a conversation? How do I usually end one, etc.? So I'm asking it to dig deeper into this conversation, into my information here, right? To do a little bit of analyzing. If you don't ever use, you can do this exercise without using ChatGPT to help you write. You can kind of help it, let it analyze your style. Okay. So once I do that, so I'm giving you the prompt there so you can see it a little bigger, and then I press enter, then it takes me on and it does that. So it gives me all of the things. So it gives me my how I set up. Okay, I do a warm greeting, content and purpose, relatable example, clear structured teaching, right? My signature phrases. So it gives me my common transitions and openers in that second section when I scroll down there. And some of these I might have used since being here. Like, so first of all, let's talk about it. Here's the thing. All right, so it tells me that based on what it saw, because I gave it training transcripts, right? If I had given it something else, it would give me something different, right? Engaging audience cues. Okay, let's be real. Okay, all of that. Okay, so it's doing that, it's analyzing all of that. So my last prompt, because you know I like to do the most. If y'all don't know me, and you don't, so now I'm telling you, I like to do the most. So the last prompt I give it, I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to say, rewrite this, and it's going to pop up in a second. Rewrite this in the first person as if I'm describing this to my ghostwriter. Please note that you should only use the way I start and stop in less formal writings because of the way it gave me that. When crafting emails, it should be more professional. This is also true of some of the more casual phrases I use. Still conversational and approachable, but not as casual. So I'm just giving it some direction on how I want it to write for me because I'm going to use this to kind of zhuzh up my writing. Okay. So I put all that in there. And then I let that rip. And then it's going to give me what I would consider my final instructions. Right. And then from there, we'll go from there, but I'm going to let this finish up. So give me some feedback in the chat. How are you? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways on where we are with this. Would you do this on any level? You may not do all of it, but you may do some of it in terms of like helping it sound less robotic. Okay. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So perfect. How to write like me. Okay, so it gives me my content style. It gives me all of that information. All right. It walks me through the whole section here. How I start and how I end, phrases and transitions, my teaching and writing personality. So it makes it a little more concise. And it writes it. I could hand this to somebody if I'm writing a book or something of that nature. Now, at this point, I'm going to take this and put this into the instructions for the project. So how do I do that? First, I'm going to copy it. Down there at the bottom, there's a copy button. So I click the copy. To get to the instructions for the project, now those three dots there on the side, I can rename this, but I'm not doing that. Once I go back to the project and go right up to the very top right corner, click those three buttons, there's an add instructions option. I literally can copy and paste that right there. So these instructions are going to be used for this project specifically. Okay. Could I take these and add them to my overall custom instructions? I could, but I'm not in this example. And it doesn't have to be pretty. I just took out some of the extra wording that it gave, but you don't have to go through. I'm laughing at myself because I was getting ready to take out all the little dashes and stuff. You don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be pretty at all. Okay, so now that I've dropped those into my custom instructions, that this particular project is customized to my voice. So now I can go in and write and it will sound more like me. So what I did in this last piece is that I actually went through and took the prompt from the beginning and I did an after. Okay, so I took that same prompt. And then I went ahead and had to do the same exercise. Write an email to let your sponsor know that your timeline will change due to a sudden resource issue. And then I'm going to transition over to a side-by-side. Now, I did preface this by telling you that this is my instance of ChatGPT. So the first one there on the left is pretty solid, okay? but it did give the nuance on the other side did give a little more warmth, you know. Like the last paragraph, it says, on the right says, I understand how important this project is and will continue to keep you updated as we work through this adjustment. Please let me know. Versus our goal is it's a little warmer, a little friendlier, a little kinder, a little gentler, right? So it did do that. If you're doing this in your instance, you might see a little difference of a nuance. And because I gave it my bio, it put in my full name and my business. Again, I wouldn't necessarily, depending on who I'm sending this to, I may or may not use that part. But again, I would still take this and maybe zhuzh it up a little bit. Now, let me mention this. One thing I would also do, and I will put this in custom instructions. You see these dashes, but give me a thumbs up for those of you that are familiar with these being of the bane of folks' existence in ChatGPT. These blasted dashes that they always put in here. Okay, yeah. You can, in your custom instructions, give it like a good example and a bad example. Like I don't want you to write like this with the dash. I want you to write like this. Give it a sentence to give it like a before and after to get rid of those. But I do actively, that's one of the reasons why I don't take anything whole cloth out of ChatGPT, because I usually read it, and because the way my brain works, I read it and I usually put my little spin on it even still. And one of the things I definitely do is take out those dashes, right? Maybe with the upgrade of ChatGPT, OpenAI will set it up to not do that, but that is a thing. And I have had people ask me questions about that. That's a way you can give it a before and after, a do this, not this type of thing in your custom instructions, so that it doesn't do that as often, I'll say, because it might still do it. All right. Now, we're getting ready to move into, I think, our last piece that I want to talk about, which is an alternative tool. I believe that's my next thing. Let me see. Let's check. Yes, an alternative AI tool. Give me let me see. Give me a heart if you've never used Notebook LM. Ooh, just a few hearts, a few hearts. Okay. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. I like to say it that way because I feel like, I just said it that way. But we're going to talk about Notebook LM, right? Well, this is an alternative AI tool that comes out of ChatGPT, but it can be very useful, right? So you can use it for briefing documents, building FAQs, mind maps, podcasts. Give me a thumbs up if you have used it before. Just out of curiosity, I want to see how many thumbs up I get for people who have used it. The website is there, notebooklm.google.com. Ooh, I don't see any thumbs up. Ooh, is this a new tool for most? Oh, I love it. All right, let's talk about it. So best way to do it is a demo, because me explaining it, I can show you, like my grandmother would say, I can show you better than I can tell you. So when you go to Notebook LM, you're going to see something that looks very similar to this. You're going to go down here and create new notebook. Okay. Now, this is a Google product. Yes, it's a Google product. So you can upload sources by simply dragging and dropping files. You can pull things from Google Drive, a website link, a YouTube link, or just copy and paste text right in here. And you can put up to 300 pieces of documents. It will take all of that. And ChatGPT can't take that many pieces of documentation at one time. Okay. So I'm going to basically drag that PDF document that I used in the last scenario, and I'm going to drop it in here. And then it gives me this window that I can start engaging with the source. The source or sources will always be listed over here. And then the first thing it's going to do is going to give me a summary of whatever the sources are, right? And then off here in the studio, I have some different things that I can create. Okay, they're still gonna get on time. I think I can get this done and then maybe see if I can see Q&A. I don't know. Or maybe people can raise hands. We'll see. So first thing I'm gonna click on is the mind map feature. So it does, I don't know if anybody's ever used mind maps before. Back in the day, I did. I had a manager who was a mind map queen. This, I love this just because of that. So it does things like mind maps. You can generate an overview video. I'm clicking on these things and letting them run. Some things may take a little time. And then you also can create a variety of reports, right? You can create your own report. You can craft a report. You can do a briefing document, a study guide, a blog post, a policy briefing, a white paper. All right. So think about this. I mentioned to you earlier that you need to lean in to these AI tools for yourself so you can kind of know how they work. This is a really good one to lean into personally. Like if you're studying for something, or if you have kids and they're studying for something, maybe creating a study guide may be helpful because sometimes seeing that information in a different light can help you learn it, right? So you can create all these different tools in this space, okay? So I think I clicked on, I forget, I think it was briefing documents that I clicked on over there, okay? Now here in the middle, I can chat with the source. So I can chat and have it create things for me. So create a 20 question, I think Q&A document, I think I would have said here, and it will do that. Now, let me give you a use case that somebody brought up when I went to the DCPDD session. One of the use cases was they actually put quite a few, like more than a dozen different sources in here, and they had it do comparisons, contrasts, and trends. It actually worked for them for that. They didn't say what they put in there, but they said they were able to put in a large amount of data and have it look for similarities, look for trends, look for comparisons, look for all of those things, which I thought was a great use case, right, for something like this, because it takes so many documents at one time. So this is a Q&A document. So you might have some internal documents within your company that you want to zhuzh up because you want your staff to read them. A lot of times creating them in a different way helps people to digest it better. Okay, so this is one way to do that. All right. And then you can always, anything you create here in the middle, you can actually pull it over here to the studio. Okay. And anything you create here, you can convert it over to the source. So it becomes a part of the source. All right. So I'm generating different things here. And so I'm going to also do, there's a section in here called a quiz. You can also create quizzes. Now I will say, the quiz part is cool, but a little clunky to me. But the way I can see you using it is right within this tool. Like if you have some source documents and you want to quiz yourself on it to make sure you understand it, creating a quiz out of here might work very well, but that might work. But I'm gonna come back to quiz and I'm gonna look at this mind map because the mind map finished. So it creates a full-blown mind map that expands out. This is super cool. I love this. So let me, as I'm clicking through here, let me give you a use case for this. I actually did this at the Columbus PDD. Lee, you might remember if I bring this up. For a person who was they were interviewing and they were past the recruiter stage and they were interviewing with a specific person. I'm going to pause this for a second. They were interviewing for a specific role and they were being interviewed by a specific person who they knew their first and last name. You can go to LinkedIn and pull their profile as a PDF, drop it here, and then create this mind map. Why would you do that? So that you can find similarities between you and that interviewer. One, you can understand who's interviewing you, what is their pedigree within the company, and then maybe you can, maybe it sparks maybe a question or two that you can ask that interviewer that could be relevant to the job you're applying for and relevant to that person, right? Maybe you went to the same college, maybe you worked at the same job previously, maybe you have the same background. So that could be something that you could utilize this for. So that's a good use case for the mind map piece, right? So, and anywhere you click on the mind map, it will basically take you back to where all that information is found in the source. So this is one of those things I'm showing you a lot here. I recognize that. This is one of those ones you're going to want to play with. It's totally free. Did I lead with that? It's free. There's no, as of today, let me say that. As of today, it's free. If you go to 15 minutes from now and there's a charge, I don't have anything to do with that. All right, so I'm looking at the briefing document, okay? And I think the last thing I do in this is that I do look at the quiz, which like I said, the quiz is clunky to get out of here, but it works if you're quizzing yourself on things that you want to like make sure you understand. Like if you're going for the, a certification of some sort. Oh, and this is me showing you the regulations that I literally pulled off the internet. It was a 35-page document. That's what that document is. Okay. And so it created that briefing document based on that. I want to get to the quiz so you can kind of see how that works. I think I go there in a second. So everywhere you go, there's a place to copy and paste, right? And it's still generating the video overview, so I'm not going to fool with that right now. But I think I'm going to go ahead and click on that medical devices quiz so you can see just how that looks. So what I recommend for this one is, again, using it within this tool, but also if you want to create a quiz for documents that you have, go ahead and create it, and you may just kind of copy and paste when I say copy and paste, you may have to, maybe a little clunky to copy and paste, but you can maybe take these questions out and put them into a different LMS tool. So this is me literally going through the quiz. It literally gives you immediate feedback. Like as you answer it, it tells you whether you're right or wrong. So it's not like it waits to the end. Okay, and this is me literally just taking it and I'm not reading the question, just so you know. You'll see by my score that I did not read the question. Literally did. Well, I think the first couple I did because I was trying to be all extra, and I said, girl, just answer these questions because this is a demo. Like, why are you trying to be all extra? So yeah, I go through and I answer, but it does tell you the right answer, and it's 10 questions. I'm assuming that it gives 10 questions, but it might give more based on the source document or documents you put in here. Okay, and then at the end, it does give you a score. Okay, so you can. It does score you. This is a fairly new feature. I've used NotebookLM for a while. See, I was at 40%. Horrible. It says you did it. It's very encouraging, even though I got 40%. Right. And so I can review the quiz and see the answers, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's like I said, it's clunky to get out because there's not a whole lot of spaces to copy. All right. So finally, the video overview. Now the video overview, well, I'm going to let this play for a second. It does have sound, and I believe my sound is on. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound when this starts to play.
So let's talk about the high-stakes world of medical devices. You know, everything from a simple bandage all the way up to a life-sustaining heart valve. How does the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, actually decide what's safe enough to be used on you or me? Let's dive in. I want to start with just one number, 4,556. According to one analysis, that's how many deaths related to medical devices were reported in just a single year. It's a pretty stark reminder of what's on the line when these products fail. And we're not talking about small stuff here. The failures often involve really critical devices.
Okay, I know you're on the edge of your seat watching this, like, oh my God, what's next? I just muted it. But yeah, it literally will do a video a video overview. And it also does a podcast where there's two people talking as well. So again, this might be good. Again, a lot of times the way we ingest data makes a difference in how we retain it, right? So someone who would, if you're the kind of person that's like, oh, if this could just like read to me, or if this could give me like an overview, I can listen to this on my way into work, because I believe NotebookLM is also on your phone. So if you set this up before you start driving, and then turn this on, maybe this is something, maybe you're listening to the briefing documents for, prior to you on your way into work, because you just need to get an overview of what's going on with this information, right? So just a different way in which to work this. All right. Now, I'm going to take some time for us to ask questions, but here's what we covered. I know you're probably like, wow, we covered a lot. And we did. We talked about the changing landscape in AI. We looked at different things like personalization, data controls, and incognito. We talked about some features like branching, chunking big tasks, and breaking down complex documents. And then we also talked about training ChatGPT to sound like you. And then I stepped out of ChatGPT for a moment to look at Notebook LM. All right. So what I'd like for you to do, first of all, is I like feedback. Okay. Please scan this QR code if you would and give me feedback on what you thought about this presentation. All right. What you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. I've done different iterations of this conversation. My goal when in having this conversation is exposure, really, right? Because I know that there's people that are a little scared, they're a little hesitant. But I want to expose you so that you can start to play, because this is not a fad. It's not something that's going away. These tools are only going to get better from here. And the sooner you lean into it, the less stress that you're going to have in adopting and adapting, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, I'm going to leave that up for a quick second. I do want to see if I can see participants and if anyone, because I think we stopped right at 2 o'clock. Yeah, but I want to give maybe a couple of minutes for maybe one. If one person raises their hand, maybe I can allow you to talk and you can ask your question. And then I may only have time for one. Okay. Patricia, I'm going to allow you to talk and we'll go from there. So I think you can unmute now.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this class. The session, I found this to be one of the most informative sessions on AI. It's really helped me because as somebody who has dibbled and dabbled in Chat GPT, I was actually a little bit timid about using it and utilizing it, not really knowing how to fully utilize it properly. But I must say that this session today increased my confidence, and I'm actually excited to log on to ChatGPT after the professional development day and going into it. So thank you so much. You made it so simple and easy to follow, and I really do appreciate it.
That you have made my day with that comment. That is my whole point. That's my whole reason for doing this, is making it easy, making it not scary. So go play with it.
And if you could put that screen back up one more time so I could scan the QR code.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me share. Hold on.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, because I do appreciate the feedback. Like I said, my goal is absolutely to expose. I use it quite a bit. Like I said, I trust and verify, and it's been helpful to me.
Yes, I do love the verification portion that you had as well, because that is something that I was concerned about, because it's like, okay, if I do utilize Chat GPT, how am I able to verify the veracity of the information that I'm actually receiving?
Yeah,
So thank you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'll encourage you all again, every one of you in here, you have knowledge. You have a knowledge base, right? So when you start asking it questions about things that you know, you can ask it to verify itself. I asked ChatGPT, it gave a statistic, like a percentage of something. I can't even remember what it was. I said, hey, can you verify the source of that? Where'd you get that from? I said something like that. Where did you get that? Give me some information on where you received that stat from, because it didn't seem right to me. And it literally told me, oh, you know what? I can't find that, but I did find this. I'm like, see, I know, because so you you can ask it. You all have knowledge. All of us in here are thought leaders. We are content creators on some level. So when you go into these tools, you have the power. Okay. It is your assistant, not your dominator, if you will. Because a lot of people think it's going to overtake. No, it's more so understanding it so that you know how to monitor it, verify, and help it to help you move the needle. Okay. All right. Okay, where are we? Oh, we've got four minutes. I can live a little dangerously. One more question if somebody wants to raise their hand. If not, we'll do it in the Ask Me Anything session. Oh, by the way, if you do give me feedback on here, It does give you access. I believe I put it in there of the prompts I used and the abstract that I used, just so you can get an idea of how I did what I did. So just FYI there. And this is also recorded, so I think you can come back and at some point and look at this. All right, I'm gonna stop share. Hopefully everybody got that code. I also, like I said, I do this presentation in other spaces and places. I am a freelance project manager. I started my business in 2021, left my job 2 years later to my 9 to 5 to do this full time. So I love project management and I love what I do. I do AI as well as project management consulting. So connect with me on LinkedIn. That is the easiest way to get a hold of me, under my Latina L. Lewis. You can find me there. I'd love to connect with you all.
Latina, I don't know what I said to you 3 weeks ago, but you did damn well today. That was awesome. Really, really good. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Lee.
much.
Yeah, you said about like that. Yeah.
Yeah, now I almost know how to do something.
Great. Perfect. All right. I'm going to go ahead. We got 2 more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and end us here. And I will see you all in the next session, I believe. Yep. Ask Me Anything is going to be starting here in a couple minutes. All right.
We'll see you then. Take
See you
care.
guys later.